Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the AEW Rampage review for September 10th, 2021. This show was an absolute love fest for true fans of AEW, as Adam is going to tell us about here in one moment. We started off the show. We were in the Cincinnati, Ohio. Tonight's show had Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, Taz, and Mark Henry all at commentary. And our first match of the night, Adam's going to tell us more about the Bastard PAC versus Andrade with Chavo Guerrero. Go ahead, Adam.
Well, it was a really good match. My first thoughts initially were that this probably should have been the main event, but I'll get to the finish, which was probably a good reason why it wasn't the main event. The first minute was an intense stare down, followed by forearms with Andrade coming out on top. And from there, they go back and forth with a couple high spots. Nothing really too major, but now when you get a little deeper into the match, they go back and forth again in the middle of the ring, and then Andrade sets up PAC in a 619 type position, does a springboard over the ropes into a DDT, and it was just a nice move. And then right after that, he keeps him on the outside, he jumps from the middle rope and then does a springboard to the outside, but turns his body through. It's just really nice. You have to go see it for you. It's hard to explain. And from there, they go ahead, they brought, and then a really nice spot. And I keep saying they brought because that's really what a good portion of this match was. It was just them kind of going back and forth at a point. And from there was a really nice spot, which I think you would even like this. They had a spot where PAC and Andrade go up to the top rope, and PAC trips, and then he finds himself in the Trio O position, and then all of a sudden Andrade does a drop kick to his chest, and but it's the way that the way he lands, and they do the same spot later, which was really nice because they end up getting to that same area, and it's in the Trio O position and he misses, and then PAC does a really nice moonsault to the outside. So just a lot of high spots in this match, that's why I pretty much have a page and a half of notes here, but I can't read it all because it would take too long. That's really the main thing. It just was that good of a match. And then at the end of the match, though, Jose, towards the end, Jose, which is one of Andrade's little managers or whatever, Chavo and Jose kind of distract the ref, specifically Jose with the stun gun or a taser, whatever. I think it's the same thing. And Chavo ends up going into the ring after the referee is distracted and hits PAC with an iPad. Yes, an iPad. And he ends up pinning PAC 1, 2, 3, and then you can see by Andrade's reaction that he's not initially happy by it, and they start walking up to the ramp, and then from there, it looks like it's going to be just a cutoff because of the Lucha Bros, obviously. I forget to mention that, but the Lucha Bros come out to beat up Jose in the midst of things, but that comes back into play. All of a sudden, Andrade beats up on Chavo, and then the Lucha Bros get Chavo, and then PAC and Lucha Bros beat up on Chavo from there. So it looks, as far as I'm concerned, Chavo is done with Andrade possibly. But what are your thoughts on it? I thought it was a good match, followed by a decent little segment after.
I assume that this is them. This was a way for them to write Ric Flair into AEW. It wouldn't surprise me if next week we see Ric Flair escorting Andrade to the ring. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I know there's been some talk on the internet about Ric Flair's AEW debut. It seems to me like it makes very good sense with the storytelling to bring in the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
I know it's not an off-topic question, but could you see Charlotte going there, possibly, in the next year?
I think that Charlotte is set up with the WWE. I think that, no one holds anything against Ric Flair leaving, I think that Charlotte's pretty set in her ways in the WWE. I mean, she didn't suffer. It's not like they took her push away. They've given her 13 championships or whatever. I think we'll probably see her take that mantle of 17-time world heavyweight champion before we see her done with the WWE.
Fair enough.
But yeah. Next up, the in-ring segment with Tony Schiavone, Darby Allin, and Sting, and they wanted to address Tully Blanchard's comments from Dynamite. So for those of you who didn't tune in to Dynamite or didn't see the Dynamite review, Tully Blanchard basically said, Shawn Spears, he's going to fight you, Darby, and Sting, I'm going to fight you. So Darby starts us out by saying, Tully Blanchard, you said that Sting is just riding on my coattails. Shawn Spears, listen to me. You're a generic piece of shit, and without Tully, you ain't a goddamn thing.
Which was a great quote.
Yeah. So then they talk about, Sting takes the microphone, and he directly talks about Ric Flair. He says, Tully, didn't you ride on the tails of Slick Rick for many, many years? What about Arn Anderson? And if you want to look me in the eye, let's do it right here in Cincy. So at this point, Tully Blanchard walked out onto the, ramp, basically said, you two like the numbers game and, talk about riding coattails and, we all need to be more aware. And at that point, Shawn Spears came in, and he attacked Darby.
Which was and obviously these guys know what the fuck they're doing, but which looked like a stiff Death Valley driver onto the fucking ground. I don't know if you watched the segment, but it was just an intense kind of just the way he landed.
Yeah. I like the writing for everybody here. I like the writing for everybody here. I think they're really showing that Tully is that old school veteran. I don't know. I think they kind of are... See, I don't know if I like the booking of Sting, but only time will tell if I'll become a fan of the booking of Sting. But up next, we have a trios match, and Adam, take it away and tell us more about that.
Well, it starts with Rhea, which this was the return of Riho, as far as I know. I haven't seen her since I've been watching, so I think this was her return from a while of out of action and it really starts with her and Britt Baker going at it, but then Riho gets outpowered by Britt Baker, which actually was kind of a funny spot. Like they just tie, and all of a sudden, then like Riho starts backing up while like Britt Baker's chasing her, and then she tags in Chris Statlander. And then actually a commercial breaks not too long after the fact of Chris Statlander, which is kind of weird. And then each woman and then I have this as a note, which was really funny because I was kind of laughing. Like Rebel was sitting outside of the ring pretty much the whole match, and all of a sudden, I just put each women other than Rebel are getting stuff in, because that's literally what every woman was getting stuff in except her. And then finally she gets tagged in, only to get reversed in an attempted double suplex by Statlander. Like it was her and Jamie Hayter, and they tried to double suplex her, and it just didn't work. And it was just funny how the spot kind of broke down. And then Britt Baker ends up breaking a roll up, and then Britt Baker picks up Statlander. Statlander then reverses a Baker suplex attempt. Riho then gets on Statlander's shoulders, like she was already on the top rope pre-placed, and it was just really interesting how the spot was set up. But then Rebel lies on top of Baker. Then Riho does a kind of Finn Balor little like drop kick onto the back of her, also hitting Britt Baker, and then Rebel takes Riho's foot stomps. Obviously, I just said from the shoulders. Then Soho does a plateau kick, I think is what they called it, and for the 1, 2, 3. That was pretty much the match. There's really not much to say there. Like honestly, that's what I was trying to really find the highlights, and there really wasn't much. Really, it wasn't a bad match. It's setting up what it's setting up, but it just, I don't know.
And from that match we go right to the main event, which I know that you were sort of invested in with Brian Pillman Jr.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was an interesting match. It really was, because it start as soon as the entrance hits. Obviously you're because the past couple main events, as far as I'm concerned, they've announced to, the people, kind of almost like a UFC event in a sense, like how the main event goes. But then as soon as Pillman gets in there, he just goes after Max Caster, which was kind of funny to watch with the Luthez, almost Stone Cold style. And then Caster goes outside with Pillman and then does a drop kick through the ropes, which is a really nice spot actually. It was just kind of the way they set it up. And then Max beats up Pillman for a while, which leads to Pillman's babyface comeback. Pillman tees off on the top ropes, like doing the 10 punch in the middle rope, and then Brian Pillman all of a sudden, like after a little bit of fighting there, Brian Pillman jumps on Anthony Bowen because Anthony Bowen knocked off Brian Pillman a little bit before that, and he jumps on him, and then Brian Pillman sets up the springboard clothesline, and it was 1, 2, 3. It was really a simple match. Like there was really nothing highlighted to it, and then that was my point with earlier saying like why I thought the Andrade and PAC like starter match should have been the main event, but looking more at it, this wasn't bad because then Moxley comes out right after when Max Caster and Anthony Bowen are beating him up, and then that gets probably the biggest pop of the night, and that sends the fans home happy. The way that PAC and Andrade ended, it probably would have sent the fans home a little anticlimactic.
No, see, I don't think that's why they did it, though. I think that they did it generally this way because it is Brian Pillman Jr.'s hometown crowd.
Right.
So, you know, it makes more sense to have your hometown boy going over in the main event than it would for the Andrade. I like the way that they broke this down as far as the writing goes and as far as the placement goes. At one point, the crowd was even chanting "Flying Brian," which I thought was, pretty neat. I am very curious to see if they drop the junior from his name.
And it's interesting because that would be probably I don't know if it'd be the best at it, but it'd be a good because then instead of calling it, you're just calling him Flying Brian or just Brian Pillman.
Yeah.
It's just like it'd be a lot better just to give him his own little recognition and stuff. But I don't know. It was a good match though. It was just again, it was simply booked and it was just the way that there's nothing fancy, but it was but Brian Pillman looks really good though. And Brian Pillman he looks really junior. He looks really good the way he moves around and the way he kind of attracts with the fans and stuff. He gets over. And obviously it was his hometown, but even from other matches that I've watched.
So after the show went off the air, Jon Moxley was singing to the audience with Brian Pillman Jr. They were drinking and having a good time. I saw some clips. It looked like a really good time, and I think that if you can get to a Rampage, it seems like Rampage is the party.